I've been living in Alaska for 1 year this week, and I don't really care about holidays, but anniversaries are always kind of special, so I made this video to celebrate. I brought my video camera along with me this month on a couple of excursions. This is a lake named Smith, one of my favorite places right here in town. I spend a lot of time alone, especially now that it's summer and I moved off campus. I like to run a bit. I spend most of my time just kind of walking through the forest looking for animals. I also ride my bike a lot. This is a stand of aspen trees. I spend a lot of time in here. I've also been known to enjoy fields of flowers, cloud watching, swimming in lakes. I do a bit of reading and writing, and I try to work as little as possible. I've made some good friends up here, and every couple weeks I get together with one of them and take a little outing like this. This is a canoe trip down the slough of the Tanana, which is my favorite river in Alaska. And here's my friend Matt catching some weeds in his hook. We paddled out of Manly on this trip, a little end-of-the-road town north of Fairbanks. And we camped out on this bank of the Tanana. We were really hoping to have fish for dinner, but we ended up with rice and beans. This is called a fish wheel. It's a great way to catch fish. You can catch a couple thousand a year. It just spins in the current on its own, and fish swimming upstream put themselves in the basket. Since we didn't have a fish wheel, we did it the fun way, with a rod and reel. Despite our best efforts to have fish for dinner, all the little fish we just let go, and all the big fish let themselves go. I'm trying to catch at least one of every species of fish in Alaska, and after this trip, I get to add pike to my list. Pike are real fun to fish. They're super aggressive. The same fish will bite the hook over and over again. Here's Matt just playing with one. Kinda like you're starting from the top. You can't do that. We saw lots of moose along the way. We were able to get right up close to this cow. She noticed us, but she didn't act aggressive. I've never seen a moose so close in my life. I'm usually running the other way screaming when I see them. I've read some Stoic philosophy, and from that I've been instilled with the belief that it doesn't matter where a person is. As long as they can dwell happily in their own bodies with their own thoughts, they can feel serenity, even amid chaos and through struggle. In other words, it doesn't matter what's going on the outside, as long as the inside is in order. That may be true, but being in a place like Alaska sure makes finding peace a lot easier. Another trip I got to take this month started out in the air. As part of training for my summer job as a tour guide, I got to fly up to Coldfoot, Alaska. So here's us taking off. There's my work just over there by that lookout tower. And there's the university. And there is Fairbanks. It was pretty cool to be up in that little airplane. I got to look over at clouds rather than up at clouds. Guess what river that is? Right there at the wingtip is Stevens Village along the Yukon River. There's no roads, so the only way to get to any of those villages is by plane, boat, dog sled, or snow machine. It was only about an hour of flight, but I was ready to get out of the airplane by the time we landed. Flying in the clouds, it was pretty bumpy. Coldfoot is on the south edge of the Brooks mountain range, and you can see here we're just getting into it, so big valleys, big peaks, and lots of rivers. There's the Kuskokwim, the pipeline, and the Dalton Highway on the right. So here we are, just about to land. I had a front row seat the whole way there, and I have an idea what I want to do next. I want to be a pirate! I mean, a pilot. So here we are, taxiing in. I was actually going to tag along on my friend's tour, who happens also to be my co-worker. So here's Brian, one of my friends, and he's teaching people how to swat mosquitoes with an electrified tennis racket. So here's Coldfoot. It's actually just a big truck stop. They have gas, burgers, and cute waitresses. This is the Dalton Highway. Sections of it are paved, a lot of it's gravel. Since it was my first time in Coldfoot, I was glad to stop by the visitor center. And when I walked in the front door and saw a giant globe, I was really excited. I think I walked around it about 1,000,000 times. I want to put one of these in my cabin. It's cool to be way up here on top of the world. Feels good.
Winter time. Up here it gets much colder than it does in Fairbanks.
Here's Brian, striking fear into everybody's hearts.
It's not uncommon for it to drop to 50 or 60 below zero.
But Brian gave a great tour. I got a lot of material that I'm going to use on my own. It was nice to sit in the back instead of having to drive the whole way there. That's Canooty, or Old Man, Alaska. It's my favorite blueberry picking spot on the Dalton Highway. I asked all sorts of questions as we were driving south, and I think Brian finally got sick of me towards the end. I had to get a commercial driver's license to operate that coach legally. I think I could have done it anyway, but when you pull up to work on a bicycle, they just don't believe that you can drive well. So here's me hamming it up at the Arctic Circle, crossing it officially. Notice the dashed line. And this is why I really like my job. Most of the day I just get to look at this kind of stuff. Here's some fireweed. And there's even some granite rocks, just like back home in San Diego. I wasn't joking earlier when I said I like to lie in fields of flowers, and now you can see why. These fireweeds are everywhere. But they are just one among the myriad of wildflowers in Alaska. Most people know and like these plants because they're edible and a sort of floral calendar. The blossoms open from the bottom up, and when the last ring blooms at the top, it's supposed to be just a few weeks until the first snow. If that's true, winter looks like it's on its way pretty soon. There's lots of different kinds of berries growing wild in Alaska. These are called bog blueberries. Better tasting than what you can buy in any grocery store in the lower 48. And free! Besides the blueberries, there's also currants, salmonberries, cloudberries, cranberries, and crowberries. I've tried them all. Can't get enough of them. And those are lichens. It's a caribou's dream. This is what it would look like if you were a drunk caribou. Yet as I lift my eyes, I see the swarthy kindred, wild and free, who flaunt it in the field. This is cotton grass, a classic tundra plant. These fluffy white blossoms add a certain whimsical beauty to the region. This landscape is splendid and inspiring, but looming in the background of every shot, including this one, is that 800-mile-long iron snake pulsing with crude oil. That's the only reason we're seeing any of this. The Dalton Highway, also known as the Hall Road, is an industrial corridor. So under marvelous lighting and pastellar views roar enormous semi-trucks, and they drive fast and ceaselessly. The drivers are good, but accidents happen. This is the first wreck I saw on the Dalton. I saw the driver, looking dazed and mad, but safe, sitting on a dirt mound just down the road. I can't decide if it's impossible or just hard to pick my favorite thing about my first year in Alaska. I'm debating between the excitement of exploring new types of wilderness, the way I feel waking up in the morning, enjoying the extreme climate, all the projects and ideas I'm brewing for the future, the state's low population density, and, of course, fishing. They're all so wonderful. I don't think I can choose. It doesn't feel like a year has passed. I can remember every single day. None of them were the same. I've lost count of the exact number of fish I've caught, but I can remember every fishing trip. I can envision every midnight walk under the auroras, every gray Sunday morning last semester when I snuck into the forest to lay down and watch the snowfall. I remember every quiet conversation. I'm sure some of the more generic things have passed without my noticing. But that's not what my year was made of. I'm learning to value autonomy and appreciate solitude. I've refined many ideals. I stopped being a vegetarian after 8 years, and now I'm learning to hunt and receive what nature offers. I moved here to get away. In my mind, I abandoned California. I tried to let everything go. People and memories, possessions, and even my California driver's license with the awesome holograms. I'm enjoying my new status as an Alaska resident, but I've figured out that I cannot shear off the first 24 years of my life, not if I want to live honestly. Alaska is a migratory state, so people always want to know where you're from and why you're here. The first time someone asked me this question, I was rattled. Small talk had never pried so deeply into my soul before. The truth is, I moved here for many reasons. I was trying to escape. I was sickened by the crowds. Everything felt fake and overregulated in California. People were getting in my way and wasting my time. But the biggest thing that drove me to Alaska was a loss of hope after the power lines were built through El Monte Valley. Once I witnessed the desecration of the land that is sacred to me and many other people down there, in the name of industry, many things withered inside of me, and I lost my attachment to the land I grew up on. I couldn't even look up at my favorite mountain. I had to leave. As I've begun to eat straight from the rivers and dirt, I feel a physical connection to Alaska. Every day it's becoming more sacred to me. This isn't my country yet, not like it was back home, but I'm starting to understand it. While working and traveling this summer, I've seen a lot of the pipeline. It's an engineering masterpiece, and a lot of hard-working people make their livings because of it. It's the 800-mile-long spine of Alaska, and sometimes it even looks elegant to me. But always in the back of my mind, there is a sadness because I can imagine how the people must have felt back in the 1970s when it was being built. It must have been devastating. But I guess that's just how the world goes. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.